This conference will now be recorded.
So in the first class, we discussed about introduction to signal, and after that we discussed about what is a system. Then we discussed the applications of signals and systems. Then in the previous class, we discussed the rest of the applications. Then after that, we discussed the basics, the types of signals we discussed to some extent. Now, in today's class, I'm going to cover the rest of the signals and the what are the operations that we can perform with the signals and what are the characteristics of the signals. Then we'll go for the systems also. Then before going to discuss that, now I'm going to start sharing my screen. I think, can you see the screen now? You please type it in the chat box. If you
Yes,
can see
sir.
that screen in. Yeah. Good. Now I'm going to continue the today's topic. So in the last class we discussed signals basic types. There we discussed unit step function we discussed, then unit impulse function we discussed, then ramp signal we discussed, then parabolic signal also we discussed, then signum function we discussed, exponential signal also we discussed in the last class. I think up to this we discussed. Now I'm going to continue this from rectangular signal onwards. Now see, we can define this rectangular signal as, so there is no standard notation for representing the rectangular signal. Generally, it can be denoted as with any of the variable as a function of time, and it can be defined as x of t equal to a rect of r by t, or sometimes you can write it as a rect of small t by capital T also. Here, this capital A represents the amplitude portion of the rectangular function, and the capital T represents the period of the rectangular function, and here this r or t is the variable associated along the x-axis. That is how it should be. Now if we see the waveform for this, now observe this waveform. Here we have a rectangular function which is existing from minus t by 2 to t by 2. The moment when you observe this waveform which is existing from minus t by 2 to t by 2, the total period for this is t. You may ask how you can calculate this total period. Let us assume this as t1 and this as t2. The period which you can calculate is nothing but t2 minus t1. So when you calculate that, the total period that you are going to get is t. So that's how you can have this capital T represents the period of the rectangular function, and the amplitude of this rectangular function is denoted as this variable capital A. Now that is how you can represent this waveform. Now as an example, now in general we can represent this rectangular functions like this: 4 rect of t by 6, something like that. Here this 4 represents the amplitude portion of the rectangular pulse, and 6 represents the period of the rectangular pulse. Again, you can use this the same condition. The total period is 6, so I can write minus 3 to 3. That means we are representing this rectangular pulse or rectangular function in a symmetrical manner on either sides along the x-axis. So that's how you can represent this rectangular function or rectangular signal. Then the next type of signal which I'm going to discuss now is triangular signal. So when if I ask you to write the equation of a triangular function, you can write this triangular signal is nothing but the combination of two nonlinear equations and you can join that. So sorry, two linear equations which are not passing through the origin, and you can join that. That means the equation of a triangular signal is nothing but it looks like the sum of two equations, like y equal to mx plus c, and the other one is also mx plus c, something like that. So if you add these two, then it looks like a triangular waveform. So observe it, you can understand this, and it is denoted as x of t. You can write this signal in a mathematical function like this: x of t equal to capital A into 1 minus modulus of t by capital T. Now try to understand what is this modulus that we are writing. So when I say modulus, it is going to exist on either sides. That means you need to write, when I say modulus of t, you have to write plus t as well as you have to write minus t. Now, if you observe this, I can write this equation like this: x of t equal to a into 1 minus, in the modulus portion, I am going to consider plus t. Then I can write x of t equal to a into 1 minus small t by capital T. That is one equation. Then I have another equation. If I take this modulus plus t, instead of plus t, I'm going to take minus t. Then it becomes minus and minus becomes plus. Then I can write the equation x of t equal to a into 1 plus t by capital T. That is how you can write it. Now try to understand now how you can write the equation for x of t, which is equal to a into 1 plus t by t. It looks like the equation y equal to mx plus c. So when you write the equation y equal to mx plus c, it is not passing through the origin, as you already know. So you have an equation like this and like this. Now you may ask how you will get this. This portion you're going to get is because of a into 1 plus t by t. And this portion you're going to get because of a into 1 minus small t by capital T. So you please try to analyze whether this equation is satisfying that or not. Now you may have a doubt whether this equation is satisfying that or not. Just see, here we have 2 points, right? Here what are the coordinates at this place? The coordinates at this place is minus t comma 0.
అడుగుతారు వీళ్ళందరం ఎక్కచ్చగా అడుగుతారని వాళ్ళైతే ఆయన కరెక్ట్ గా అడుగుతారని నాగేశ్వర కౌన్సిలింగ్ ఇచ్చిన ఆయన నరేంద్ర. మళ్ళీ మనం మహిబాద్ పోయేటప్పుడు మేము ఇప్పుడు ఈశ్వరయ్య గారు మరి నేనున్నా మీరు కొంతమంది ఉన్నారు కదా, వాళ్ళకి కంపెనీలు ఇవ్వకుండా.
Here if you observe, here we are going to get x of t. Now you consider this point. What is the coordinate at this place? The coordinate at this place is minus t comma 0. Since we don't, on x-axis we don't have the value of y, so here the value of y is 0. So I can write the coordinate at this place is minus t comma 0. Now at this place the coordinate is, since on y-axis we have the coordinate of y which is a, but the coordinate of x is 0. So I can write the coordinate here at this place is 0 comma a. So I know the coordinates. One is minus t comma 0 and the other coordinate is 0 comma a. If I have 2 points, can you write the equation of a line? You can write the equation of a line using the formula y2 minus y1 equal to, or you can write like this: y minus y1 equal to y2 minus y1 by x2 minus x1 into x minus x1. So here x is nothing but the time axis and your y is nothing but x of t. That is how you can write the equation for this portion. When you write the equation like that, I can show you at the end of this particular session, so how you can write the equation for this. But you observe this, since I have two coordinates, one is minus t comma 0 and the other one is a comma 0. When you write the equation between 2 points, so when I write minus t comma 0 and 0 comma a, I can write the equation y minus y1. Here y1, y is nothing but, when you use the formula y minus y1 equal to y2 minus y1 by x2 minus x1 into x minus x1. Since I have 2 points, 2 coordinates x1 y1 x2 y2, so I can write the equation of a line using this formula: y minus y1 equal to y2 minus y1 by x2 minus x1 into x minus x1. Now what is my y here? Along y axis I have x of t, so I can write y as x of t, and y1 you can write the coordinate of your y1, but I am going to consider this as x1 y1 and this as x2. This coordinate I'm going to consider it as x1 y1, and this coordinate I'm going to consider it as x2 y2. So if I consider y1, my y1 is 0 since I have only x1, so y1 is 0. Then y2 minus y1, here I can write a minus y1 is 0 again, x2 minus x1. Now x2 minus x1, here x2 is 0, x1 is minus t. Minus of minus becomes plus. So you can write x2 minus x1, you can write it as a by t into x. Now my x is, along the x-axis I have the variable t. Now observe this, my x-axis variable is t, so I can write t minus x1. Now what is my x1 now? My x1 is minus t. Minus of minus becomes plus, so you can write capital T. Now the moment when you write this, you will get an equation x of t equal to a plus at by t. Now observe it, if you write this modulus, if you remove this modulus with minus, then what is the equation you will get? A plus at by capital T. That is how you are going to get this portion of this equation. Similarly, for this portion, again you can write the equation. Now your coordinate x2 y2 coordinate is same, which is 0 comma a. Now your x1 y1 coordinate is 0 comma t. Sorry, t comma 0. Here along this we don't have the y coordinate, but we have only x coordinate. The x coordinate is t. So you can write the coordinate t comma 0. Then again you can write the equation of a line between 2 points. Then you will get a minus at by a small t by capital T. So that is how you will get this equation. So you are going to have an equation, a triangle waveform with this equation. If I don't have this modulus, keep this point in mind. If I don't use this modulus, either you will get this line or this line only. Then it becomes a simple a ramp function only. So try to understand. You can write this when you write the triangular signal. You definitely need to use this modulus. Now, what is this a? Here this a represents the modulus. Sorry, here the a represents the amplitude of the function, and this capital T represents the period of the function. Now, when you use this period, now observe it. Here you are going to represent the period directly. When you use this, it is like the moment when you write it, it is like 2t you are going to get. But here you are not going to write 2t. The reason is because the function is symmetry along this y-axis, and you have this since it is existing, since you are using modulus, just you can write only t. So this is you should not write 2t here. You can write only t. Now this represents the period. Now observe this in the similar manner for this also. Here is an example for the triangular signal. Here a is the amplitude and 5 is the period. So the signal is existing from -5 to 5. Now you don't know, you don't understand this. Just use these points and you write the equation of a line between 2 points. When you write the equation of a line, automatically you can understand this. But what you have to do is, first you have to replace this modulus with plus or minus. Now when you will replace for t less than 0, this modulus of t becomes negative. That means for this portion, it becomes t becomes negative, and minus becomes plus. So you will get a into 1 plus t by 5 for t less than 0. And for t greater than 0, and here the t is positive, so you can write only positive value. So you can write a into 1 minus t by 5. So you have to write the equation like that for t less than 0 and for t greater than 0, and you need to substitute the using the equation of a line between 2 points, and you can analyze it. It looks like since it is a equation which is not passing through the origin, you can write an equation like that. That is how you should be. Then coming to the next signal, which you already know. This is the most widely used signal. This signal is known as sinusoidal signal, and you can represent this sinusoidal signal with two important parameters. That is represented by a mathematical equation: x of t equal to a cos of omega naught of t plus phi, or a sine of omega naught t plus phi. Now try to understand. Suppose if the waveform is in cosinusoidal waveform, then you need to write a cos of. Suppose if it is sinusoidal, you can write a sine. I think you know the basic functions of sine and cos. Where so when now where it will start and how it looks like. At t equal to 0, your cos is maximum, whereas your sine is 0 at t equal to 0. Now observe it. At this location here, the value of t is 0. It is the waveform is also 0. So I can say that this is the waveform for a sinusoidal signal. Suppose if the waveform starts at this place with a maximum value, then it varies like this. Then you can treat that as a cos waveform. So that is how it should be. Now try to understand what is this omega naught and what is this phase phi. Here omega naught represents the angular frequency of the waveform, and phi represents the phase of the sinusoidal waveform. Now try to understand. This is very important here. Now to write this, we have a mathematical relation. Suppose if we want to have this waveform to complete one revolution. Now when I say complete one revolution means it should start from 0. This is pi and this is 2 pi. Again the same waveform is repeating, right? This you can call it as the t naught, the period of the waveform, which you can write it as t naught equal to 2 pi by omega naught. Try to understand. You know, you can write omega naught as 2 pi f, or omega you can write as 2 pi f, and f you can write it as 1 by t. So please try to understand. I'm going to use all mathematical equations here. You write, if you want, you can write it. You can put a notebook and you can write it. Omega you can write as 2 pi f, and f you can write it as 1 by t. And from this you can write, you substitute omega equal to 2 pi by t and t equal to 2 pi by omega. So this how here instead of using t, we are using t naught, and omega, instead of omega we are using omega naught. So here t naught is nothing but 2 pi by omega naught. That represents the period of the waveform. And phi, this phi represents the phase variation of the waveform. That means here the waveform is starting at 0, so there is no phase variation. Suppose if the waveform is shifted from certain portion, it starts somewhere here. That means it is having a phase variation of 90 degrees. So that is how you can use to represent that. We need to use this phi. So please try to understand the difference between omega naught and phi. Omega naught represents the angular frequency. That means try to understand when you are representing any waveform, it should have certain amplitude, it should contain some frequency, and it should have certain phase variation part. So that's the reason all your AC signals we are going to represent by a mathematical equation like this. So A sine, that means your A represents the amplitude of the sinusoidal waveform. Omega, which you can write as 2 pi f, at what frequency the sinusoidal waveform is traveling, and phase, what is the phase variation of the waveform. Whether sometimes if there is no phase variation, then this becomes 0. That means automatically it will start from origin and it will progress. Suppose if there is a phase variation, like the waveform, instead of starting at 0, it starts at 45 degrees, then I can write this as A sine omega naught plus 90 degrees or 45 degrees, something like that. That means instead of starting at origin, the waveform is starting with a phase delay of 45 degrees. That means it starts at that. So that's how you can use this phi term in this in this equation. Now coming to the next function, which is a very important function. Most of the times we are going to use this function. This function, which we call it as sinc function, and it is denoted as SINC. So it's a very good function, sinc function, and it is defined as SINC of t, or sinc t, which is equal to, you try to understand this notation, whatever be the variable we have here, the same variable we are going to get here. If it is in time domain, you will get time domain. If it is in a some other domain, you will get some other domain like that. Suppose if I write sinc x equal to sine pi x by pi x, sinc t equal to sine pi t by pi t. Now try to understand this portion after sine, whatever be the variable that you have, the same variable should be there in the denominator also. Now if I say, but pi should be there, and whatever be the variable we have, sine pi x by pi x, you can call it as sinc x. But if it is sine kx by kx, you can't call it as sinc x. So definitely you should have pi. And now this t is varying for all the values. Now observe it, when I have sine pi x by pi x, here this function is having a very good very difficult it is going to give a difficult solution for us. Suppose if we plot the waveform at t equal to 0, now observe this waveform. If you plot at t equal to 0, actually sine 0, which is 0, divided by 0, that means you can call it as 0 by 0, which is an indeterminate form, which you already know, right? 0 by 0 form, which we can call it as an indeterminate form. So what we have to do is, we have to apply L'Hospital rule here. So when you apply L'Hospital rule, you differentiate the numerator and denominator. When you differentiate the numerator, sine pi x becomes pi cos pi x, right? Divided by pi t, you can write as pi. That pi and this pi gets cancelled, and you will get cos pi t. Now, when t equal to 0, cos is going to give a maximum value. That's the reason. Observe it. At t equal to 0, you are going to have a maximum value. Please try to understand this. So it is when it is going to give the value 0. If you observe, if you take t equal to 1, 2, 3, so on like that, for such values of t only, it is giving 0. That means when you take t equal to 1, you will get sine pi by pi. So what is sine pi? Sine pi is 0. So that's the reason you will get at t equal to 0, it is going to give a maximum value. At t equal to 1, again it is giving 0. At t equal to 2, again it is giving 0. 3, 0, 4, 5, 6, so on like that. For all positive values of t, 1, 2, 3, so on like that, for all positive and negative values, it is 0. But in between, how it is varying. Now you need to understand, as you go on increasing the value of t from 0 to infinity, the moment for each and every value of t, for every integer, it is giving 0. But if you observe between 1 and 2, what is the intermediate value between 1 and 2 here? If you try to understand the intermediate value between 1 and 2, which is 1.5, right? Now, if you write 1.5, that I can write it as 1.5 value, I can write as 3 by 2, right? So I can take t equal to 3 by 2, then it becomes 3 pi by 2. So sine 3 pi by 2, you'll get sine 270 degrees, which is -1. So when then in such case, it gives 3 pi by 2, if you substitute, then it gives a value 2 by 3 pi. This is what the value, which is 2 by 3 pi. Then if you go on increasing like that, as you go on increasing for different values, it goes on decreasing, the amplitude goes on decreasing. This type of from a maximum value at t equal to 0, and it starts decreasing for different values of t. So all this it looks like a sinusoidal waveform, but the amplitude goes on decreasing. So such an oscillations, which we call it as damped oscillations. Such an oscillations, which we call it as damped oscillations. Please try to understand this. Now observe this waveform, you can understand. Now observe this way. Here you will get a maximum value. Here, when compared this value, this is decreasing. And if you observe here, this is again decreasing. Again, this is decreasing. Again, this is decreasing. That means if you take the envelope of this, it is giving a maximum value at t equal to 0. As you go on increasing the value of t, it goes to 0. So such an oscillations, which we call it as damped oscillations. And this function is a very good function and an important function. Most of the times we are going to use in signal science systems. So we'll see the next function. Then the next function, which we call it as sampling function. Now try to understand the difference between signum function and sinc function and sampling function. Now in sinc function, we have the same term. Observe it. We have sine t by t, but the only difference is there we have sine pi t by pi t, but here we have sine t by t. So try to understand, more or less the waveform will looks like same, but they are not exactly same. Try to understand. Your sinc function is different and sampling function is different, but the waveform will looks like more or less same. But here if you observe, it is giving 0. Earlier it is giving 0 for t equal to 1, 2, 3, so on like that. But now it is giving 0 for t equal to pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, so on like that. That means what you have to do is just you substitute all these values of t in this equation, then you try to analyze what should be the amplitude, how this amplitude is varying between pi to 2 pi and between 2 pi to 3 pi, whether the amplitude is goes on increasing or goes on decreasing for different values of t. That means how you try to analyze that. Now take an intermediate value between pi to 2 pi. That means you take 1.5 here. You take the average of these two. So that means 3 pi by 2. So which is nothing but 1.5. So or you can take 3 pi by 2. So now you take the average of this. That is 5 pi by 2, which is 2.5. So like that. So if you take all these values in between that, as you go on observing it, the graphs that we have plotted for sampling function and sinc function seems to be same, but in time axis for sampling function we are to represent pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, so on like that. Whereas for sinc function in time axis we have to represent 0, 1, 2, 3, so on like that. See the difference. See the mathematical equation also. Here we have pi t sine pi t by pi t for sinc function, whereas for sampling function we have sine t by t. So that's what the difference between sinc function and the sampling function. Now coming to the next function. Now with this the signal types are completed. Now I'm going to discuss the classification of signals. That means you may ask, what do you mean by classification? So depending upon the requirement, depending upon the usage of the signal, sometimes we can classify the signals into various types again. Now we'll see how we can, on what basis we are going to classify this. Now, if you observe this, signals are basically classified into the following categories. We have continuous time and discrete time signals, deterministic and non-deterministic signals, even and odd signals, periodic and aperiodic signals, energy and power signals, real and imaginary signals. So if you observe this equation, this classification, any signal that is available, that is there, that we are using in communication or any of the technology that we are using, maybe may comes under any of these, may comes under any of these categories. So there is no other category beyond this. Now try to understand the importance of the classification of signals. Now the first one is continuous time and discrete time signal. The second one is deterministic and non-deterministic signal, and the third one is even and odd signal. Then fourth one is periodic and aperiodic signal, and the fifth one is energy and power signals, and the last one is real and imaginary signals. Now we'll see each and every signal in detail. Now observe this. When I said, the name itself is telling continuous time and discrete time signals. When I say continuous time, the signal should vary with respect to time. The signal should vary with respect to time in a continuous manner. In a continuous manner. Such signals we can call it as continuous time signals. Whereas if you say, now observe it, a signal is said to be continuous when it is denoted for all instants of time. Please try to understand. Here we are representing the signal in time domain. At each and every instant of time, you should represent the signal. So when you represent at each and every instant of time, then you are going to get an envelope like this, which is a continuous one. Such a signal which you can call it as continuous time signal. So all your analog signals will comes under this continuous time signals. This is an example for a continuous time signal. So analog signal is an example for continuous time signal. So now try to understand the discrete signal. When I say discrete signal will not occur all the instants of time. It will occur only at some specific instants of time. Now try to understand the definition. A signal is said to be discrete when it is defined at only a discrete instants of time. Now try to understand. Now what is the advantage of doing this? I'll tell you that. First observe the same sinusoidal waveform. So instead of representing each and every instant of time, now I represent the signal at this instant, at this instant, at this instant, at this instant, like that. So now what will happen? If you plot the envelope like this, again it looks like your sinusoidal waveform only. But the advantage when compared with this and this is, so try to understand in the communication sense, suppose if you want to transmit this signal, since it is continuous in nature, if you want to transmit this signal through a channel, you need to use huge amount of power to transmit this signal. Since it is varying continuously with respect to time, and the amount of power that is required to transmit this is also more. But if you observe this, instead of having this signal like this, we are going to sample it at certain instants of time, but we are sending that. Then for this signal, which we call it as a discrete signal, the power required to transmit this information over a channel, which is very less when compared with this. That is the advantage of using this discrete time signal. So as you know, because for analog systems, the power requirements the power that is required is very high. So whereas for discrete signals, the requirement for power which is very less. So now this is an advantage, and with this discrete signals also will have some modulation techniques are there, which you are going to study in analog communication subject. I think in the next semester, I think second semester, you are going to have one subject known as analog communication. There you are going to learn about uh, analog modulation as well as discrete modulation also. But here see the difference. Here you are using continuous signal. Here you are using discrete signal. Now you may ask a doubt, how you will get this? It's a simple thing. What we have to do is, we have to take the same continuous signal. We have to use the concept of sampling. That means for every I need to fix the sampling period. Now observe this waveform, you can understand the spacing between one sample with the other sample, they are equal, right? That means this period, which we can call it as the sampling period. So you are fixing the sampling period such a way that I need how many samples. Based on that, you need to fix this. Suppose if I take the sampling period which is very less, then I'm going to get too many samples. If I take the sampling period which is more, then I'm going to get very less number of samples. So based on the samples, based on the number of samples, you can have this sampling period which is varying. So the advantage of using this discrete signal is the power that is required to transmit the information in the discrete with the discrete signal is less when compared with the continuous time signal. So try to understand the difference between continuous time signal and the discrete time signal. Then the next type of classification is deterministic and non-deterministic signal. The name is now try to understand what do you mean by deterministic. So deterministic signal is nothing but any signal which you can represent by a mathematical equation, or which you can represent in a known fashion, which is known to you. Such signals you can call it as deterministic signals. Now try to understand, sinusoidal signal. You can represent the sinusoidal signal by a mathematical equation. Triangular signal. Cosinusoidal signal. All these signals you know with how it looks like and how to represent by a mathematical equation also. So any signal which is known to us and which you can represent by a mathematical equation, that signal we can call it as deterministic signal. Now see the definition. A signal is said to be deterministic if there is no uncertainty with respect to its value at any instant of time, or signals which can be defined exactly by a mathematical formula are known as deterministic signals. Try to understand. Any signal which you can represent in a known fashion or by a mathematical equation, such signals can be called as deterministic signals. Then the next one, non-deterministic signal. Now try to understand. A signal is said to be non-deterministic if there is uncertainty with respect to its value at instant of time. Non-deterministic signals are random in nature, hence they are called random signals. Try to understand. Non-deterministic signals can also be called as random signals. Random signals cannot be described by a mathematical equation. They are modeled in probabilistic terms. So try to understand this. Any signal which you can't represent by a mathematical equation, such signals which you can call it as non-deterministic signals or random signals. I can tell you an example here. If you observe the noise that is there in the channel is an example of a non-deterministic signal. You can't represent the noise by a mathematical equation like this. Similarly, if you utter the words, if you plot the graph of your voice signal also, it looks like this. But that is a complex signal. You can, to some extent, you can write a mathematical equation, but not the exact way. So such signals, you can call it as non-deterministic signals. Please try to understand the difference here. Any signal which you can represent by a mathematical equation or in a known fashion can be considered as deterministic signal. If it is on the other side, you can call it as the non-deterministic signal. Then the next type of signal, which you can call it as even and odd signals. So I think you know this even and odd signals is simply the concept that we are going to get from the concept of mathematics. Now you know when I say a function is said to be an even function or an odd function, it has to satisfy some conditions, right? The same way, if I say a signal is said to be an even one, it satisfies the condition x of t equal to x of minus t. That means what does it mean? Whatever, even if you change this time interval, uh, x of t equal to x of minus t, such signals you can call it as even signals. Now the examples for this even signals are t square, t power. Here it is because of this typo. There is a typo error here. Please make a note. It's not t2. It is t square. It is t square t power 4 cos t are the examples for even signal. That means try to understand when I say t square, even for positive values of t or even for negative values of t, it is t square only, right? So any function, any equation which is satisfying such type of condition, you can call it as an even signal. Suppose for such case, for such signals, so when I uh, you will see that what will happen when I say it is an even it is a even function is symmetrical about the origin. At the origin, if you see, it is symmetry on symmetry will exist on either sides. So such a signal you can call it as even function. Now we'll see that. Similarly, if a function is said to be an odd function, uh, when I say an odd function, again x of t you can write it as minus of x of minus t. We'll see the condition. Now observe this waveform. Now when I observe this waveform, now try to understand, is it an even function or an odd function? Now here I have, it is now the same waveform is existing and it is now you take the mirror image, you fold it along the vertical axis. when you fold it along the vertical axis like this, and this part will come and fit here like this, right? If you rotate it like this, that means it is symmetrical about y-axis. So an even function is always symmetrical about the vertical axis, about y-axis. So such a function we can call it as an even function. Now the other signal or the other function, which we call it as odd function, a signal is said to be odd when it satisfies the condition x of t equal to minus of x of minus t. That means what will happen when you take x of t like this, you will get minus of x of minus. We'll see that with that example. Now the examples for this is, now you can take t cube and sine t. When you see this t, so if you write minus t, it becomes t and minus t, they are not same, right? So that means such function is an example for odd function. Now suppose if you take t cube, even if you take positive values of t, you will get positive. So even if you take negative values of t, if you cube it, you will not get positive value, you will get negative value. So t cube, t power 5, t power 7, all the powers of t which are odd in number is an example for odd function. And sine function is also an example for an odd function. You know why sine function is an example for odd function. You know sine t, you can write it as sine t. Sine minus t, you can write it as minus sine t, right? So sine of minus theta, you can't write it as sine theta. You can write as minus sine theta. So sine of minus t, you can write it as minus sine t. Similarly, if we take cos of minus t, you can write it as minus cos. You can't write it as minus cos t. You can write it as cos t. So cos is an even function and sine is an odd function. Now try to understand. So please make a note of it. Note here. All any function, any variable with even powers can be treated as an even function, and cos is also an even function. Any variable with odd powers, then and sine function is an odd function. Now if you want to represent any function, you may take any function f of t can be expressed as sum of even function and odd functions. Please try to understand this. There is a relation between this. So if I have a function f of t, that function f of t, I can write the combination of even and odd functions by a mathematical equation. I can write it like this. F of t, I can write it as f of t, which is equal to fe of t plus fo of t. Now try to understand. Now suppose if you write f of minus t, now what will happen? Let us see. Now if you replace f of minus t, what will happen for an even function? Fe of minus t, again you can write it as fe of t. Then this I can write it as fo of minus t, I can write it as minus f naught of t. So the moment when you add it, or subtract it, so it is a combination of adding and subtraction, you will get the relation even function. Fe of t is nothing but half into f of t plus f of minus t. Similarly, f naught of t, here fe of t represents the even function. So how you are going to get the even function? You will take f of t and f of minus t, you average it, then you will get the even function. Then how you will get the odd function? To get the odd function, f naught of t, which is nothing but half into f of t minus f of minus t. So try to understand the relation between the even function, odd function, and the actual function. So try to understand, if you represent any function f of t, that function you can represent the combination of even and odd, which is given by a mathematical function. Even function which you can treat it as fe of t, and an odd function which you can treat it as fo of t. O for odd, e for even. So the function f of t, I can write it as fe of t plus fo of t. So if you substitute f of minus t, that means what you are doing here, you are replacing t with minus t. When you replace t with minus t, fe of minus t, since fe is an even function, fe of minus t, again you can write it as fe of t only. Then similarly, if you write fo of minus t, f naught is an odd function, f naught of minus t, you can write it as minus of f naught of t. So you have f of minus t here. The equation for f of minus t also I am going to tell you now. F of minus t, the equation is fe of t minus fo of t. Please try to understand. Fe of f of minus t equal to fe of t minus fo of t. So if you add it, you will get the relation for fe of t. If you subtract it, you will get the relation for f naught of t. So that's how you will get the relation for even function and odd function in terms of f of t and f of minus t. So you may have a doubt here. What is f of t and what is f of minus t? F of t is the actual function. F of minus t is nothing but the mirror image of f of t. The mirror image of f of t. So try to understand that f of t and f of minus t, it's nothing but the same function in the mirror form. So the moment when you are observing in front of a mirror, you are looking in the different sense, right? It's an exact opposite way. So that is how you have this f of minus t is nothing but the mirror image of f of t, any function, any waveform. Now see this, the next part, the next classification of signal, which is the periodic and aperiodic signal. Now the name itself is telling periodic. When I say periodic function, a signal is said to be a periodic function. It has to satisfy the condition of periodicity. You know, in mathematics, you have studied a theorem known as periodicity theorem, right? So now try to understand the concept of periodicity theorem, periodicity signal here. A signal is said to be periodic. It satisfies this condition. So what is this condition? X of t equal to x of t plus t. Now what is the meaning for this is, here x of t is the actual signal, x of t plus t, this capital T is the period of the signal. That means the same function is going to repeat again after t plus t. That is the meaning for this. So such functions, such signal, which you can call it as periodic signal. I'll demonstrate, I'll tell you here with the waveform. Then this is the example for continuous time signal. For discrete sense, for discrete time signal, we can represent by a mathematical equation like this, x of n. But try to understand the difference, the notation for continuous signal and discrete signal. For continuous signal, we are representing the time period with time period. But for discrete signal, we are going to represent in terms of number of samples. That's the reason we use the x of n. N represents the number of samples. So x of n, which is equal to x of n plus capital N. Now where t is the fundamental period, capital T is the fundamental period, which you can write by a mathematical equation. There is a relation between time and frequency. Frequency equal to 1 by time period. So which you can write it as fundamental frequency. Now observe it. Here I represented on x-axis I used time scale. On y-axis I considered x of t. And this is here I have drawn a sinusoidal waveform with an amplitude of A. The positive peak is having an amplitude A and the negative peak is also having an amplitude A, right? Now, observe this. This is starting at t equal to 0, the amplitude is 0. So I can say that this waveform is a sinusoidal waveform. Now observe at this place. Now, if you see this from this portion to this portion, it completes one revolution, right? Again, it starts with 0 again. So observe it. Every t naught, for every t naught, the same waveform is repeating. So if a waveform is repeating like this for every t, for every time period t, capital T, such a signal you can call it as periodic signal. So you observe the waveform, from the waveform only you have to tell. So you see this, here we have 0, here I can say it is pi by 2, here I can say it is pi, it is 3 pi by 2, and it is 2 pi. Again, at 2 pi, my waveform is 0. Again, here I'll have, uh, here I have 3 pi. Now I can say 2.5 pi, I'll get the maximum value. Then here I'll get 4 pi. Again 4 pi, again the same sinusoidal waveform is repeating. So for every 2 pi or for every time period t, the same waveform, the waveform is repeating again and again. Such a waveform you can call it, such a signal you can call it as periodic signal. So any signal which is varying, which is repeating after certain instant of time can be considered as periodic signal. Suppose if the signals are not satisfying this condition, if x of t is not equal to x of t plus t, that means you are at sometimes you have the sinusoidal waveform, again you will get cosinusoidal waveform, again sinusoidal waveform, and some other waveforms. Such signals, which you can call it as aperiodic signals, they are not having the same period, and they're not going to repeat it after certain instants of time. So that is the example for a periodic signal. Now see this, if the above signal will repeat for every time interval t naught, hence it is periodic. Suppose any signal which is not having this condition, then we call it as a periodic signal. So aperiodic signals will the example for aperiodic signals is your voice signal is an example for aperiodic signal, or the non-deterministic signals is an example for aperiodic signal. So that is how you can have that. That means sometimes you will get ups and downs which are not repeating which are not in periodic in nature. Such signals you can call it as aperiodic signals. Then after that, the next type of next classification of signals is energy and power signals. So energy signal and power signals seems to be similar with slight modification. Try to understand the difference between energy signal and power signal. A signal is said to be an energy signal when it has finite energy. Now try to understand. Any signal is said to be an energy signal. It should have finite energy. The expression for the energy signal, or the mathematical equation for the energy signal, is given by integral minus infinity to plus infinity x square of t dt. This is the mathematical expression for the energy signal. Now you may ask a doubt here, sir, can I use minus infinity to infinity always? No. If based on how, in a generalized sense, I don't know how my signal is existing in general, but I can represent the signal in general from minus infinity to plus infinity. That's the reason when you are writing a mathematical equation, your expression should be in a generalized sense. So you have to write the equation minus infinity to plus infinity x square t dt. This is the expression for the energy signal. Similarly, we have the expression for power signal. So when I say a signal is said to be a power signal, it has finite power. Now try to understand. Energy signal is having finite energy, power signal is having finite power. The difference between energy signal and power signal is, power signal you can have mathematical equation. You have to write power signal equal to limit t tends to infinity. Here this t is the period of the signal, 1 by 2t integral minus t to t x square t dt. Now see that this mathematical equations, both are integrations and both are having x square t dt only, but the limits of integration for energy and power, they are not same. For energy it is minus infinity plus infinity, and for power it is from minus t to t, and we need to write the time period, but in between at the beginning you write limit t tends to infinity. Now try to understand here, we have a note here, a signal cannot be energy and power simultaneously. Please make a note of it. Any signal if you take, that signal cannot be both energy and power signal. A signal can be neither an energy signal nor a power signal. So you cannot say that both will exist. It will exist, or you may have either power signal or energy signal. Both will not exist at a time. So now if you calculate the power of an energy signal, now try to understand. You are calculating the power of an energy signal. The power of an energy signal is 0. That means you use this equation. If you calculate the power for this, the moment when you calculate the power, what you have to do? You have to write, you have to take the limits using like this, and you apply the limits t tends to infinity. When you take t tends to infinity, what is 1 by infinity? It is nothing but 0. So the power of an energy signal is 0. Whereas the energy of a power signal, now try to understand that. Now when you apply the energy of a power signal, now if you apply t tends to infinity, you will get all the limits minus infinity blank, so you will get infinite. So you can the power of an energy signal is 0, but the energy of a power signal is infinite. So this is very important. Please make a note of it. So there is a contradiction here. Neither power nor energy signal, uh, both the signal cannot be both at a time. It can be either energy signal or a power signal, but the power of an energy signal is 0, but the energy of a power signal is infinite. So try to understand. You may ask how you will get this. Just you use these equations. Now you apply this is an energy signal. You take it here. You apply the formula for power. So that means the power of an energy signal means you will take minus infinity plus infinity, and you apply the limits infinity. Since the time period is infinite, what is 1 by infinity? It is 0. So the power of an energy signal is 0. And the energy of a power signal, now when you apply this energy of a power signal, since power signal is a finite one, you take it here and you apply the energy t tends to infinity, 1 by infinity, since it is an infinite one, so automatically you will get a value which is infinite. So that is how you, since you are doing the integration with respect to minus infinity plus infinity, so when you apply minus infinity plus infinity, you will get a value which is infinite one. So that is how you have this condition. Power of an energy signal is 0, energy of a power signal is infinite. Then we'll go the next one. The next one is the real and imaginary signals. So I think this you will understand. So when I say real and imaginary signals, here I use the when I say to represent the real and imaginary signals, you need to have you need to understand the concept of complex variables. When you use complex variables, we can represent the complex variable like u plus iv or x plus jy, like that, right? Yet that x part is the real part and the y part is, we call it as the imaginary part. So to represent any signal whether it is real or imaginary, you need to use the concept of complex variables here, the concept of complex variable. So a signal is said to be real when it satisfies the condition x of t equal to x star of t. Now try to understand what is this x star of t. X of t, I can write it as e power j omega t, let us assume. So x of t, I'm going to write it as e power j omega t, which means that it looks like e power j theta. I can write it as e power j omega t. I can write it as cos omega t plus j sin omega t. That is my x of t. And x star of t is nothing but the complex conjugate of x of t. That means you can write it as x star of t equal to e power minus j omega t. So the complex conjugate of e power j omega t is e power minus j omega t. So when you write e power minus j omega t, then you are going to get cos omega t minus j sin omega t. So if it is real, x of t equal to x star of t. So the real terms should be same. When I say a signal is said to be odd, it satisfies the condition x of t equal to minus of x star of t. So this you can prove it by considering a complex signal like e power j theta or e power ix or you can write here. You need to use the concept of complex variables. So e power j theta, you can write it as cos theta plus j sin theta. When you write x star of t, which is nothing but e power minus j theta, that you can write it as cos theta minus j sin theta. So that's how you can use this complex conjugate. And the real terms, x of cos term, you can call it as real part, and sine term, which you can call it as the imaginary part. So to a signal is said to be an odd one, it has to satisfy this condition. Here x star of t represents the complex conjugate of x of t. Please make a note of it. So right, then I'm going to the next part of the discussion today. So we discussed, in today's class, we discussed the basic types of signals to some basic types of signals. Then we discussed signal classification part is over. Now I'm going to discuss signals basic operations. Now, what are the basic operations I can do with signals? We'll discuss now. Now see here, when you consider signal, there are two variable parameters in the signal. One is amplitude and the other one is time. So any signal will have only two variable parameters. One is amplitude and other one is time. Suppose if you plot sinusoidal waveform, when you plot the sinusoidal waveform, along y-axis the amplitude is varying, along x-axis the time is varying. So any signal which you can represent will have two variables, variable parameters. They are amplitude and time. But for amplitude, now as we are discussing the concept operations, right? Signal basic operations. So I can apply operations, signal operations on amplitude part. I can also apply signal operations on time part also. So if you apply operations on amplitude part, that we call it as amplitude scaling. Now try to understand, when you are applying operations on amplitude, we call it as amplitude scaling. So now what is this amplitude scaling? Here I consider an example here, C into x of t. Here x of t is my signal, C represents the amplitude part of it, right? Now this amplitude can be scaled by any value. Let us say, observe this waveform, you can understand this very clear. Here I consider the first waveform x of t. On x-axis I have time, on y-axis I have x of t. In the first waveform, first figure, I am going to have an amplitude of the signal with an amplitude of 2. But in the second waveform, I have the same waveform, but the amplitude is rising with instead of 2, and now the amplitude is 4. That means what I'm doing, I'm multiplying the amplitude of x of t 2 times. Then it becomes 2 into x of t. That means the same amplitude, the previous signal amplitude is multiplied by 2 times. So it becomes 2 into x of t. Now see the third waveform. Here I reduce the amplitude. So earlier the amplitude is 2. The improved amplitude is 4. Now here in this case, the amplitude is decreasing. So try to understand the terms here, x of t, 2x of t, and 0.5x of t. X of t is common, which is a same rectangular pulse, but the waveform is different for x of t, for 2x of t, and 0.5x of t. That is because of this scaling factor. Here the scaling factor is 1, so that the amplitude is 2. Whatever be the amplitude that I have, the same amplitude I'm going to get. Here the amplitude is 2 times of x of t. That means the amplitude, whatever x of t I have, the amplitude again multiplies 2 times again. So that is 2 into x of t. Then here the amplitude is 0.5. That means what will happen? Whatever amplitude that is there, that is half only. So here the amplitude gets double, here the amplitude gets half. So please try to understand. Here I use, in general, I can use the variable c into x of t. If c is greater than 0, you will get the waveform with improved amplitude. If c is less than 0, then you will get an amplitude with a decreasing one. So that part, that amplitude variation, which we call it as amplitude scaling, which we call it as amplitude scaling. Now try to understand. Now now the first operation which I did is just I can take I am taking the signal, I'm increasing the signal to by multiplying some with some scaling factor. I'm decreasing the signal with some scaling factor. So if the scaling factor is greater than 0, then you will get a signal with an improved amplitude version, amplitude one, with when compared with your actual signal. If amplitude is less than 0, you will get a signal with the amplitude which is decreasing when compared with your actual signal. That is how it should be. Then the next operation on signals is addition. Now what is that will do? Now when I say addition, now here what I'm doing is I'm considering two signals, x1 of t and x2 of t. Now try to understand. These concepts are very much required in our subject also. Now observe it. Now I'm considering two signals. How I'm going to add these two signals? Let us see. I consider x1 of c, x1 of t. Now try to understand, try to observe this waveform x1 of t. This x1 of t is existing between -3 to 3, -3 to 3, with an amplitude of 1, with an amplitude of 1. Whereas x2 of t is having an amplitude of 2, and it is existing from -10 to 10. Now what I'm doing is I want to add x1 of t with x2 of t. That means the equation for this z of t, this z of t is nothing but x1 of t plus x2 of t. So you are adding these two signals. Now how I'm going to add this? Now try to understand. When you observe this signal x1 of t, it is existing between -3 to 3 only. But whereas this is existing from -10 to 10. So this is greater one, right? So what we have to do is when you add it, so you draw a line like this with dotted ones between -3 and 3 also with dotted one. So what we have to do, up to -10 to -3, you don't have any signal in x1 of t. So here x1 of t is 0 from -10 to -3. Whereas x2 of t is having a value whose amplitude is t is 2 up to -3, right? So just observe it. -10 to -3, the amplitude of z of t is x1 of t plus x2 of t. But x1 of t is 0 from -10 to -3. You just draw a dotted line from -3 to 3 here. So that means up to -3 to -10, you don't have x1 of t, but you have x2 of t. So the amplitude from -10 to -3 is 2. So you can plot the graph from -10 to -3 with an amplitude of 2, right? Then from -3 to 3, the amplitude is 1 for x1 of t, and the amplitude is 2 for x2 of t. So x1 of t is having an amplitude of 1, and x2 of t is having an amplitude of 2. So what we have to do, if you add it, it becomes 3. So already we are 2. Now you make one step again, then it becomes 3. So up to -3 to 3, the amplitude is 3. Then from 3 to 10, again we don't have x1 of t, which is 0, and x2 of t again, which is 2. So that is how you are going to have this. So observe it. The moment when you add these two signals, you will get this waveform. So please try to understand, please try to practice this. So it's a simple logic. Just you just draw dotted lines from -3 to 3. So observe it. When you draw dotted lines from -3 to 3 here, x1 of t is not existing from -3 to -10. Similarly, x1 of t is not existing from 3 to 10. Only it will exist only from -3 to 3 with an amplitude of 1. Whereas x2 of t is existing from minus 10 to 2 with an amplitude 2. So when you add it at this portion, minus 10 to minus 3, since x1 of t is not there, only this amplitude will come. But from minus 3 to 3, since both are there, you have to add the amplitude of x1 of t as well as x2 of t. Then it becomes 2 plus 1, it becomes 3. So I have given this mathematical version analysis variation also how it looks like. You just observe it. Then we can have the next one, which is subtraction. Now try to understand, when you're doing subtraction, you should be very careful while doing this. So please try to understand this. When you see the subtraction, here I have the same signal, same function, same waveforms I'm considering. X1 of t with an amplitude of x1 of t with an x1 of t which is existing from minus 3 to 3 with an amplitude of 1 again. X2 of t which is existing from minus 10 to 10 with an amplitude, the same previous example only we considered for this case also. But instead of subtraction, instead of addition, now what we are doing, your z of t is nothing but x1 of t minus x2 of t. Please try to understand. Your z of t is nothing but x1 of t minus x2 of t. Now try to understand. You know the graph for x2 of t, but you don't know the graph for x2 of minus x2 of t. So what we have to do is, minus x2 of t means you have to since you are having this graph like this, you take the mirror image of that. That means you rotate it along this in the vertical direction. When you rotate along the vertical direction, you take the plane, horizontal plane, you shift this, you rotate it like this, then it becomes minus x2 of t, minus x2 of t. When you take minus x2 of t, then now you need to plot the graph x2 of t minus x1 of t minus x2 of t. Now see how it looks like. When you consider minus 10 to minus 3, z of t, the equation for z of t is x1 of t minus x2 of t. So now you need to take minus x2 of t. So what do you mean by minus x2 of t? So try to understand. Minus x2 of t is nothing but you are plotting this, you are treating this function as an odd function. So when I say odd function, it is symmetrical. Odd function is symmetrical to the horizontal axis. So that means you rotate it like this. So it becomes you shift it in the reverse manner along horizontal, in the horizontal plane. You rotate it like this, then it becomes minus x2 of t. So when you plot it, then you will have a graph like this. Don't worry, I'll tell you, we'll have the software tool, Scilab. You can take this function, you can observe that using, we'll write a code there and you can understand all this. So I'll show you that in the next class, don't worry. So that is how you can do this subtraction also. And we have this graph for this, this z of t is nothing but x1 of t minus x2 of t. Now we can also do multiplication. So when you're doing multiplication of two signals, that means your z of t is nothing but x1 of t into x2 of t. x1 of t into x2 of t. So between minus 3 to minus 10, your x1 of t is 0. So you don't get this value between minus 10 to minus 3. Similarly, 3 to 10 also you don't get. But when you observe between minus 3 to 3, it is having an amplitude 1 and it is having an amplitude 2. So your resultant signal is existing with an amplitude of 2 between minus 3 to. This is called multiplication. So try to understand. I'm varying only the amplitude part. I can when I am varying the amplitude part, I can scale the amplitude. I can increase the signal. I can decrease the signal. I can make the signal with some reference one. I can add the signal. I can subtract the signals. I can multiply the signals also. All this comes up. When you do all this, what is the thing that is varying? You please try to understand. When you do addition or subtraction or multiplication, in all these cases, your amplitude is the only parameter that is changing. So that's why we call this, all this comes under amplitude scaling. Then we have the next part. Now observe it. The following up, now we can shift the, now so far we observed amplitude part. Now I'm going to discuss the time part. So when you discuss time part, now I'm going to use the term known as time shifting. So here I have a signal x of t. Now observe this, this is my actual signal x of t, and this is symmetrical at the origin, and which is a triangular waveform. And I'm going to plot, I'm going to have the signal that may be shifted towards right or towards left by a value t naught. This t naught is the shifted value of the signal. Now try observe it how we can have this. Now observe it. I can plot the signal plus or minus I can use. If I use plus, what will happen? See, x of t plus t naught. This you can call it as negative shift. Try to understand what do you mean by negative shift. And here we call it as x of t minus t naught. This you call it as positive shift. It's a simple thing. Negative shift and positive shifts are nothing but you take this internal term and equal to 0. When you take t plus t naught, which is equal to 0, then what is the value of t that you are going to get? So what is the value of the signal that you are going to get? When you take t plus t naught, which is equal to 0, you will get t equal to minus t naught. When you take t minus t naught, which is equal to 0, you will get t equal to t naught. So the moment when you take that term which is there in the bracket and equal to 0, you will get the signal if it is positive after taking the term which is there in the braces and equal to 0. If you will get positive value, then you can call it as positive shift. If you will get negative value, then you call it as negative shift. Now try to understand here t minus t naught. Now take this t minus t naught, take this term t minus t naught and equal to 0. When you take t minus t naught equal to 0, the signal is shifted by a value t naught. When the signal is shifted by a value t naught and it is shifted towards right, positive, here it is 0, and it is shifted towards right by t naught, towards right by t naught. Suppose if you take this one t plus t naught and the same signal is shifted towards left by t naught. So this you call it as positive shift and this you call it as negative shift. Actually, you have to take this as this vertical line here. This is your reference line. So sorry, I have drawn a mistake here. Don't consider this as a vertical line. You will get a vertical line after this graph, right? Now we observe this shifting. That means now we are applying this shift. Now in the previous part we applied amplitude. Now we are using time. So I can shift the signal towards right, or I can shift the signal towards left. If I shift the signal towards right, then you can call it as positive. If you shift signal towards left, then you call it as negative shift. Then we'll see the next one. In addition to this time shift, yeah, Amulya, please keep your phone in mute. Amulya, please keep your mobile in mute. Yeah. So what happened only today? Only 39 members are joined. CR, you please ask your friends. Only 39 members are joined, right?
Sir, both the CRs are absent, sir.
Tell me. Both the CRs are absent.
Bhavana absent, sir.
No, sir, I'm here.
Bhavana, please, only 39 students are there.
Sir, I'm there, sir.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not telling about you. Only 38 members are there in this class.
Sir, some are saying we have signal problem. It is not coming properly, they're saying, sir.
Okay. Right. So I'm going to stop within another. I'm going to stop within 5 minutes. So now you see this time shift. We can shift the signal towards right or left by a certain value. Right. I think for today's class, I hope I'm going to stop at this point since there are around 20 people are not joining. CR, you please inform the other people to join to go through my lectures. Hello.
Okay, sir.
And,
Okay, sir.
all of you listen to me. This week I am going to conduct one examination, an online examination on the topics up to today's class. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Are you following me? I'm going to conduct one exam on Saturday. Get ready for the exam on Saturday. I'm going to, whatever be the topics that I discussed up to today's class is the syllabus for the examination. So up to time shift is the syllabus. You inform to all your friends, right? So with this, I'm going to stop for today's class. I request all of you to post your attendance and you can leave the session. Thank you.